Okay, we're recording. Welcome back. Last time we left off, we were finishing off the section where it says the 3 reasons for Hashem to be crying. And the last one was for someone who is a parnas hamizgoel etzibur, someone who is a provider, and he's being arrogant. He's being balgava on the tzibur. I'm not going to go in there. They're very sensitive, touchy topic. So we're going to move on. So the Gemara continues with another story from Rebbe. Rebbe means usually Rebbe Hida Anusi. So Rebbe Hida Anusi have a nuket Sefer Kinnos. He was holding the Sefer Kinnos, which is, what we read on Tisha B'Av. He was holding in his hand the Kurukuru Bagai, the Kukura Bagavai, and he was reading from it. When he reached to this pusik, Hishlich Mishumayim Eretz. It's the verse where Hashem says that Klal Yisrael takes a beating. They will be fallen down from Shemayim, which is heaven, to earth. What happened is Nufel min Yudai. The book, the Sefer Kinnos, fell out of his hand and it fell down on the floor. There's many different explanations, but let me first finish what the Gemara says and then we'll come back. Omer, so he said, my Guru Ram, from such a high place, Levairu Amiktu. So my Guru Ram means like from a high rooftop, Levairu Amiktu, to a deep pit, meaning that the Yidden fell from before the destruction of the temple. They were so high, at such a high, lofty levels, and now they're so low, they're not even on earth, they're below earth. They're like in a deep pit. The Mashur says, and I said before, I'll come back to Nufel min Yudai, that it says that it doesn't just mean that the book fell out of his hand, that maybe he was standing on top of a roof, and the book fell out of his hand into a deep pit. And that's why he said, this represents how the Yidden fell. What happened to them? Now, why is the Gemara bringing us the story here? Why is this coming into play here? What are we talking about? Why is it just a story? So I'll continue with my theme as Chagigah. Pseches Chagigah is the Masechta, the tractate for relationship. And as in being in relationship with the sages, they share about themselves. Like we have seen before, sages would share certain verses, certain pesikim that would make them cry, that would take them. Here, this is something that gave him a shake. I don't know if it made him cry here. It doesn't say make him cry, but he lost the book. He got tremors or trembled of fear of something that he read. So again, it's another sharing. And it's continuing with the next story, which is also about Rebbe. Okay, so Rebbe is again Rebbe Anusi, which was the Nusi basically means the chief rabbi, right? The Nusi of that generation, of that years, for that time. So here the story goes: Rebbe and Reb Chia have a shokle v'azle ba'archa. They were walking together. Now, they were going from town to town, or at least they were going and looking to meet another Gadol, another Talmid Chacham. So why is that relevant here? Some say the story comes in here because we have learned before that on Yom Tov, on Sukkot, on Pesach, and Shavuos, of course, there's the mitzvah of the pilgrims, the mitzvah to go up to the Beit HaMikdash. But when there is no Beit HaMikdash, there's a mitzvah to go visit your rabbi and to learn from him. So here we're talking about Reb Hida Nusi, which was the chief. He was the biggest rabbi. He was the Nusi. He went along with Reb Chia to go visit someone. Musa, when they reached to this town, to the city, Amri, they asked of the people, is there any Talmud Chochem here that lives in this town. Naizl Menakbalapai, you would like to go visit him. So what happened here, Amri, the people answered from the town, there is some rabbi that lives here amongst us. Moiranaim is an expression of someone who has lightened eyes, but it really means someone who's blind. It's just in a nicer way of saying someone who has bright eyes, meaning to say that he's blind. So what happened here, they've been told, yes, there's a rabbi here. They want to go visit, but the rabbi is blind. So Reb Chia suddenly sticks up to Reb Hida Nussi and tells him, Tivat, you stay here in the hotel. You stay here in our place where we're staying. Lut Zalzal B'Nsi'oschu. Don't go along to visit this rabbi. Why? Because that's below your respect. You cannot shame your chief rabbi, your title. By you going to visit someone, it's going to shame your title and you shouldn't be coming along. Just let me go myself and you stay here. I'll go myself and I'll go visit him. But it's not right for you to do that. So the question here is, why now? Rebbe and Reb Chia Rebbe was the Nussi, he was the chief. Reb Chia had no problem with Rebbe going to visit some other smaller rabbi somewhere. Only now, when he heard that the rabbi is blind, he's complaining, hey, the Nussi, don't come along, it's not for your covet. What changes? So one of the answers I heard is that Reb Chia figured that when Reb Hida Nussi would come to a place to visit another rabbi from a town, which that rabbi is very prestige, very choshev in that town, when that rabbi will hear that Reb Hida Nussi is coming to visit him, he will surely come out of his house to greet him and then respect him and stand for him in his house. And that will be a proper kuvat ha-Torah, proper respect for the Torah, for the rabbi of that town to greet the big Nussi. But now that he heard that that rabbi is blind, he's surely not going to come out of his house to greet Reb Hida Nussi, because how could he? And then he's certainly not going to be moving from his place in the house, because how he can't stand up to greet or to serve the rabbi, the Nussi. So this is where he started complaining that this is going to be a shame. You shouldn't be doing that. But Reb Hida Nussi didn't let himself. Takfai ve'azl badai. Takfai means that he held on to him and he came along with him. Said, I'm going with you, I'm not staying. It could be another explanation that he actually argued out with him the halacha, saying that I'm allowed to go, and it's a mitzvah for me to go. So they went along, and Reb Chia gave him. So they went and they visit. The Gemara doesn't tell how the visit went, but the Gemara says, when they were about to get up and to leave that rabbi, so that rabbi was very impressed. He was very happy and in awe that the fact that the Nasi, the chief rabbi, came to visit him. So he gave him a bracha, he gave him a blessing. He says, Atan higbaltem punem hanirem va'ainiroim. You came to visit someone that you can see, but I can't see you. Tiski, you should be zoiche, you should be married. Lahakil punem haroim va'ainiroim. You should be zoiche, and of course it means Hashem. You should be zoiche to greet Hashem, which he sees us and we don't see him. Now, of course, it cannot mean we see him with our flesh eyes, because we cannot see him with our alive, but at least he gave them the bracha that they should meet up with Hashem in Shemayim for such a great mitzvah that you did for coming to visit me here. Umalihi, so here, Umalai, the Reb Hida Nussi tells Reb Chia, Ichi hashtu menaton, Ichi hashtu, if I would have listened to you, if I would have not come to visit this Rebbe, menata mahai birchasa, you would have withheld this beautiful blessing that I just got, that I should meet Hashem. So this beautiful blessing that I just got was worth it for me to come along. Again, a nice story. What do we learn from this? What do we take away? What does it mean to me, what I just heard and just learned? Now, of course, the story is not yet done. It goes a little bit more on, but I'm taking a little break here because we already learned two stories, I think. Two stories of Rebbe. So the first one was just to share about Rebbe, how much he cared. But the second one shows that Rebbe was willing to forego his own prestige for a mitzvah. Even to go see someone who's in way lower rank of him. To go see a regular rabbi in some town somewhere who was even blind, he argued that he should go and visit him and to get such a bracha. Another thing we see is that you should not take any bracha light. The Nussi, which if anyone can give a bracha, he can give a bracha with the much Torah he has. And he was happy with the bracha that he got from some blind rabbi in some town. So you certainly shouldn't be taking any bracha light. So Omalai, so the story goes on. So there's two ways of saying this. Who said to whom? It could be that the Rebbe with Reb Chia, they asked of this rabbi, this blind rabbi, from where did you hear such a thing that when we come visit someone, it's such a big deal that you can give us such a big blessing? That's one way of saying that they asked that rabbi. Another way of seeing this is that Reb Chia asked of the Nussi. Okay, so you came along, you got this bracha, but from where did you learn that you come to visit a rabbi is so big that it's worthy of a bracha? So it's either them two asking that rabbi that was blind, or it's Reb Chia asking the Nussi, Reb Hida, that came along with them, what made you come along? How did you know it's so big? So he answered. Now, of course, who answered depends as in the two ways as to who asked. I heard this from a teaching from Rabbi Yankov. So what was Rabbi Yankov's teaching? Rabbi Yankov ish Kfar Chitayu. Rabbi Yankov was a person who lived in an area called Kfar Chitayu. Have a makabel apai the rabbi called Yoma. He would go visit his rabbi every day. Kikash, when he got old, Omalai, his Rebbe told to Rabbi Yankov, Lo nitztar, you shouldn't be. Nitztar means bother, trouble yourself. Why are you troubling yourself? You can't anymore. This is a big deal for you. You're older, you're weaker. You shouldn't be coming to visit me every day. Omalai, so this Rabbi Yankov answered to his Rebbe, Mi zitter mar, is it then a small thing? The chsiv bahai berabunan, what we learn that is being said on the sages, on the Rabbunan. So the Gemara is going to bring here a phrase that's from Tehillim, from the Psalms. The phrase is really not the way he's translating it into, but it's a twist. We're going to see what happens here. So v'chi oit l'neitzach, you should live on forever. V'lo yira hashuchas, you should not see the grave. Ke yira chachumim yumisi, when you see the sages pass on, when you see them dying. This is the literal translation, but the Pusuk is really talking in a question. Do you think someone who's not righteous, someone who's considered a Rasha, do you think you'll live forever? You think you're not going to see the grave? Even though you see the righteous people die, and you think you as a Rasha, you're not going to die? So that's basically what the Pusuk is talking about. That's really the phrase. But he's twisting it. He's saying it, when you see the Chachumim die, then that's a atonement on the people that watch that, people who live through that. And therefore, you're not getting punished. You're not going to see the grave. You're going to live on longer because you're getting an atonement when you see the sages pass on. So he said like this, For someone to see this righteous person when they die, you get to live. So when you go see them when they live, for sure you get more life. If you get life when you see when they pass on, because you learn from it and it atones for you, then you for sure learn from them when they're alive. You get to see them for sure. And you learn from them, and that certainly gives you more life. So that's one way to see it. The Marshul has a little twist to this, and he says that the Pusik doesn't he doesn't twist the Pusik, he just learns it like this. It says, meaning, do you think you live forever? You think you won't see the grave, even though you're seeing this righteous pass on? So when the righteous pass on, you're meant to learn from them. Of course, will you live on forever? No, you won't be living on forever. Even the righteous pass on. But when you see the righteous pass on, you still learn and study what did they do while they were alive? What helped them to be zoyche, to merit the life or the olam haba, the world to come? When you look into that, that's when you can learn from them even when they're alive. And this is what he was saying, that yes, he's not saying that the Pusik will say that you will live forever. No, the Pusik continues to say you won't live forever. Even Chachamim don't live forever. But at least look into that. Learn from them what they did in their life. So when you see them when they're alive, you certainly will be zoiche for the world to come, but not that you'll be zoiche to live forever. No one does, not even the righteous. The one who never sinned doesn't get to live forever. So I think we'll pause here. So again, what are we taking away from here? Help me out. It's like Hasidic story, right? Hasidic rabbis would always take a pusik and they would phrase it into a particular change, and then they say, "Hey, the Torah says that." For example, when they needed to give a blessing to someone, they would tell Hashem, but it says so in your Torah, and they would find a pusik, they would twist it in, saying, "Look, it says so in your Torah, and therefore you got to do it." So it sounds like a Hasidic story where the sages would come and they would take this pusik, and from this pusik that where you see a misr, you see actually misr, which means what's misr? Misr means harsh warnings, and they actually use that to say no, that's the blessing. And if you look at someone who is alive and you learn from them, you for sure get to merit. You for sure get to grow from.
But isn't this like a whole point? Because like even when we learn something and we dedicate the learning in someone's name or whatever, right? So that's it kind of elevates. So when we learn certain topics or studies that somebody else did, we're uplifting that, right? We're uplifting their neshama.
Good point. So right? You're saying that when a tzaddik leaves over his stories, how he lived, and other people learn from that, that itself gives them olam haba, because that itself gives them another zechus, saying, "Look, you just helped another person."
That's nice. Exactly what I'm trying to say, and basically with that, the life is continuous. So basically, not perhaps the person is not physically here, but they get his presence and his actions and his lives on, and we'll all learn from it.
I love it. So it's another translation, another meaning in this pusik. You can put it into this pusik. You want to live on forever. And not see the grave. When the chachumim they pass on, but when you study their life and you learn from them, this is how the chacham gets to live on. Because by you practicing his deeds, continuing it, he gets to live on forever.
That's right.
Nice.
It could be anything. It could be anything. It could be even like when my mom does certain cooking, and she says that this is the recipe of my mother, this and that. So that's continuation. You understand? The essence of neshama lives. It lives. It goes on.
Yes. Okay. So I've marked the bookmark here for next week. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna make a screenshot of this because I want to get back to it if I get a time. Yes. Very good.
Thank you so much.
Sure.